Hey guys, welcome back for the part 2 of my old sketchbook flip through. I hope you all had a great holiday, and I want to apologize for my voice today. I've been sick for almost 2 weeks now and my voice has not completely recovered yet. And just like part 1 of my old sketchbook flip through, I will show you my drawing and painting sketchbooks as well as some loose sheets of paper in no specific order. And in the end, I'll show you my digital drawings and studies. So let's get started. The first one is a Royal Talent sketchbook which I took with me on many road trips. We went to the aquarium and art museum in Copenhagen. I liked the fish drawings a lot, but the sculptures were quite discouraging. And then the spring came. Like every year at this time, I had the urge to draw flowers and colorful things. I think I was also taking some notes from James Gurney's book, Color and Light. There were also many attempts to draw from life when I was sitting in the car, but I wasn't particularly happy with any of these sketches. I never knew it was so difficult to draw and paint in the car when the car is moving, and this sketchbook is really just me trying and failing to do that. But during this time, I discovered how much I love to look at infrastructures like road signs and lampposts. I think they somehow make me feel safe and secure, like well taken care of, and that's part of the reason why urban sketching is so comforting to me. Especially when these things are combined with nature in one scene. It's not just cold metal and concrete, it's not just the wilderness either. It's the best of both worlds, and I just really love it. I remember before I left for the trip, I took a Domestica course about watercolor travel journal, and this teacher, she said her first painting trip was a complete disaster that ended with her destroying the sketchbook and not painting for almost a year, but still she became a professional illustrator. I think it was so nice of her to share her failure as part of her journey. I felt very encouraged knowing that I didn't have to expect great things from the first trip, and that was completely okay. I like to keep a separate sketchbook for watercolors since the Royal Talent sketchbooks can't handle big washes very well, and this is the one I had in the springtime. I remember visiting the botanical garden to paint leaves and flowers in it, and it was also the first time someone came up to me and talked about my paintings. It was really sweet, but I felt so awkward at the time. This one is a Hanemule A6 watercolor sketchbook. It's not cotton paper, but it was still a splurge to me at the time. I did bring this one with me on the road trip to France, and I remember sketching on a street scene in Amsterdam, although I wasn't quite happy about it. I think I still have the reference photo somewhere on my phone, and maybe I should repaint it someday. The next one is the same sketchbook, but in portrait format. I wanted to experiment with both formats, and I think I preferred this one, probably because it was easier to hold in my hand when I was outside. I forgot to mention earlier that I chose to paint in random pages instead of from left to right. I think it makes it less intimidating, and even if these sketchbooks were kind of expensive to me, I still didn't want to be too precious about them. This one is also from Hanemule. It is a hard-covered sketchbook, very similar to the Royal Talons, but I really love the size of this one. It's spacious enough, but not too heavy to carry around. I especially love to sketch in bed with it. I remember started this one on a live drawing session, and I felt so much pressure because everyone else there were so experienced and professional, and mostly because they seemed to know each other already and I was the only one there without a friend, but I did get some compliments, so I was quite happy. It was around this time, I think around October, I joined Loish's Patreon, and she has so many amazing tutorials, not just about techniques but mentalities as well. It was really eye-opening for me to see her drawing and explaining her approach. Looking back at my own sketches here, I could tell that I was trying so hard to learn from her knowledge. I think I struggled a lot with the concept of contour drawing, and it really took me the longest time to understand how am I supposed to imagine the contour lines and then put it on paper. I still have a difficult time to do it right now, so if you have any good tips, please do let me know in the comments. Many of these sketches are homework from a Skillshare class. The teacher is Brent Eviston, and he has many series of classes about contour drawing, shading techniques, and gesture drawings. I do feel like I learned a lot from his videos. I think he also has a YouTube channel now, so go check him out if you haven't already. I think a lot of times I just wanted to move my hands on paper a little bit. It's such a therapeutic, almost meditative experience, and somehow the sketchbook really gave me the space I needed. You can see here that I made a big mess with ink pens before I was able to make some decent drawings. I guess it's a beginner thing that we have to get the bad and ugly drawings out before things can get good. The next one is actually not a sketchbook, it's loose sheets of paper that I already painted. I put them together as a practice for bookbinding. I took this course on Domestica about bookbinding and realized that using sheets of paper and make my own sketchbook is a lot cheaper and it's so much fun. So I'm really glad that I learned this skill. I also found a big pile of scrap paper where I experimented with brushstrokes and color mixing, and I like to do this mini master study on these scrap papers. Like when I find some artist's work that I really love, I'll try to replicate one or two elements of their work. It could be the sky or the tree or anything like that, just to see if I can achieve a similar effect. I really love to learn this way because it takes the pressure away, but I can still learn so much about the medium from it. I almost forgot I had some pieces that I'm quite happy with. I've put them up on the picture hanger, and many of these are from following tutorials on Skillshare, so they're not originally mine, but I still really enjoy seeing them every day. These last two paintings are from my trip to France, and I took the reference photo myself. It brings back so many good memories every time I look at them. I was super proud that I was able to make this sketchbook from scratch. I used Fabriano and Saunders hot pressed watercolor paper, and I used a local map and some cardboard for the cover. It was my first 100% cotton sketchbook because it was so much cheaper to make it myself. I enjoyed it a lot, and it felt super luxury to use cotton paper, and I think I made a lot of progress here. The last sketchbook is also made by myself. I used the paper from Hanemule. It's the Harmony hot press paper, and I used a piece of canvas for the cover. I'm surprised how many Hanemule paper I've used in the past. The quality is really great for the price, and they have so many different kinds of paper like agave fiber paper. I really recommend trying their sample pack. Now let's move on to my second year of digital drawing. I think my biggest improvement happened when I joined Patreon and followed tutorials to draw along. Looking back now, I think I learned the most with Loish, Lotus Bubble, and Devin, Elle, Kurtz. I remember she has some really lengthy and detailed tutorials on Gumroad about how to draw and paint cats, like house cats and wild felines. And she also has free digital brush sets for fur and animals to go along with these tutorials. I was so impressed by her skills and also very grateful that she is willing to share her tools with such low price. I was also super into realistic gouache and oil painting brush sets around this time. Now in hindsight, I wouldn't recommend trying to paint realistic traditional medium with digital brushes without first trying the traditional medium in reality, because it would be very hard to mimic the brush strokes and texture without first knowing how the paint behaves. But I just had no idea about it. It seems so obvious now, but I just didn't know. I thought if I bought a set of oil painting brushes, I should be able to paint oil on my iPad, even if I never tried oil paints before. It seems very silly now, but I'm still very glad that I tried and found out. It's still only the second year of learning this completely new craft, and I was expected to suck and fail hard sometimes, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as we show up regularly and not even daily, because it's not always realistic. But I think as long as we show up and pay attention, there's always going to be progress. And it's going to happen very gradually. That doesn't matter to me because I enjoy the process so much. Even if I get very few finished work that I'm pleased with, I think that is to be expected as a beginner, and I'm not going to let that discourage me. Since I started to learn how to draw on February 2021, I'm thinking of making another sketchbook flip through on February to show you my third year's progress. And maybe in the future, every February I'll make a yearly sketchbook tour or something like that. I usually don't plan things so far ahead, but it's just a thought. Again, I want to apologize for my voice being so scratchy today. I hope I recover soon because I have some new video ideas I would like to work on. And I'm very grateful for everyone who watched, liked, and commented on my earlier videos. Big thank you for your support. I would love to hear about how and why you started to draw and how did you progress over the years. And that's all from me for today. I hope you have a wonderful day and I will see you soon. Goodbye.